Hey everyone, we're going to look at Regents review number 2, which is focusing mostly on trig, so sine, cosine, tangent. Some of the things that you need to know for this before we get started on some of the problems. The first thing you want to really focus on is the formulas themselves. So like we've talked about before, the whole SOHCAHTOA. Okay. So again, what that means is the sine of the angle is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Okay. Cosine of the angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent of the angle is going to be opposite over adjacent. So you're going to be using those for pretty much almost every question in some capacity. So make sure you write those on your paper. Now the other things that I need you to focus on when you're doing this assignment the first thing will be labeling. Okay, labels. Show. I really want you to show the substitution when you're using one of the formulas. And then the third thing, before you even start, make sure you're in degree mode. Because if you're not, you're in radian, you're going to get some incorrect answers that won't make sense and probably won't match up with multiple choice questions. So we're going to look at 3 of the questions on here. I'm just going to kind of get you started. I'm not going to give you the answers, but it'll help you kind of get on the right path. So we're going to look at 1, we're going to look at 3, kind of illustrate some of the points I just made. For like the first one, you got a tree, they give you an angle. They tell us if the point is 20 feet from the base of the tree, 20 feet from the base of the tree, which would be here, this is going to be 20. They want to know the height of the tree, so how tall this tree is. So really this right here is going to be our x. So then you want to go through, and based on the right triangle, you want to label. So like in this case, this would be our hypotenuse up here. Here's your reference angle, 34. So then you got your opposite side here, and then you got your adjacent side down here. So based on what we just talked about with the formulas, we're going to want to use tangent. So when you set this up, it's going to be tangent of 34 degrees. And that's going to be equal to x over 20. And then if you are missing one of the sides, you want to do some cross multiplying to solve for x. So that's kind of how you'd set up 1. 3, they talk about a triangle, but they don't have a picture. So you want to draw the picture out. Triangle ABC, and it says angle C is 90. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. This is C, and then we'll just call these A and B. It says AB is 5, and AC is 4. So there's a couple things we could do right now. I'm going to go through the answers. First thing I'm going to focus on is the ones that say A. So answers A and B. And I'm going to check using that reference angle. I'm going to label this triangle. So I would have my hypotenuse here, opposite here, adjacent here, and see if I can make some sense out of one of those answers. So cosine of A is 4 over 5. Well, we just talked about cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So that one, adjacent over hypotenuse, that one is correct. And in the question, they try to trick us and say which statement is not true. So I can cross that one out. Now going to tangent. Tangent would be opposite over adjacent, and that one says 3 over 4. Now, I don't have a measurement on the opposite side, but I could, because it's a right triangle, I could use Pythagorean theorem to help me find out what that third side is. So if I do that, and I subtract the 16s on both sides, I get x squared is 9, which if I take the square root of that, 9, x is 3. So in that case, 3 over 4, that's true also. Okay. Now when I do C and D, I want to use B as the reference angle. So just remember, if you're using a different angle for the reference angle, that's going to change your opposite and your adjacent. It's not going to affect the hypotenuse because that's always across from the right angle. So then go through the other 2 answers and see which one of those would not be true based on what we just talked about. So I'm going to erase this. And we're going to look at one other question, which is number 7. Okay. And again, this one they're asking us to find a degree. So with this right here, what is the measure of angle A to the nearest tenth? So angle A is going to be our reference angle, so I'll just call that X. I'm going to label this triangle hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. So now I got opposite over adjacent. So in that case, I'm going to want to use tangent. And we don't know the angle in this case. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use the inverse. So we're going to take this whole equation, we're going to multiply by the inverse of tangent. So when you go to the calculator to find x, you need to do the inverse tangent of the fraction 11.2 over 18.3. So just make sure when you do that in the calculator, again, like I said earlier, make sure you're in degree. Always check that at first. And then you would do second tangent to find the angle. Okay. So I'm not going to give away the answer. I want you to do that yourself to see what you get. But if you have any other questions, just let me know. And like I talked about, make sure you do labels, draw a picture if you need it, and make sure that you choose the right formula. Okay? Thanks.